Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 1IQ Sports Talk. Sterling here, coming at you with some more football. We're talking today about the Week 5 matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys. Sunday Night Football was a big game, huge rivalry between these two teams historically, and it got off to a very rocky start. Big long rain delay to start the game. It was supposed to kick off at 6:15. Didn't end up getting going until 7:45. Again, that's Mountain Time, I believe, for Eastern Time. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like 8:15. It was late. Like, this game didn't end until 1 a.m. local time in Pittsburgh. So that was a very late football game, and it showed. These guys were fatigued by the end of the game. With that rain, though, it was Steelers football. It was Steelers weather, and they were playing their game the way they like to throughout a lot of it. A lot of run the ball, be rough on the defensive side of it. Beat up on the other team. That gritty sort of play. It was very back and forth. The game started out with teams sort of just exchanging field goals. Not a whole lot going on offensively on either side. It was rough to watch if you like a lot of high scoring football. On the Steelers side of it, Arthur Smith again failed to get the offense moving. And this is an issue every week early in the game. They just cannot score points. All they're putting up is maybe a couple field goals here and there, and it's not good. They struggled this week even to stay on the field, resulting in Dallas winning that time of possession battle and just fatiguing our defense. It was awful, and it's something that I'm not happy about. I think a lot of Pittsburgh fans aren't happy about. We're going to need to see changes going forward for sure. The run game at times looked like it was starting to gain a bit of traction, and Arthur Smith would just switch over and start calling passing plays. And I get you want to use the run game to set up the pass, but he was transitioning way too quickly. We've seen Najee Harris through the first 3 years of his career. He gets rolling when you hand the ball to him again and again, and you let him start building that momentum and steamroll over the other teams. When you only hand it to him once or twice and then he just cools back down, you got to give him that rock 6, 7, 8 times in a row. I don't care if you have to punt the ball a couple times. We're doing that anyway. And it's something that's driving me absolutely nuts. This week especially. No Jalen Warren again. Cordarrelle Patterson out with an ankle injury. We've got Tyler Shimkin as the backup. This was the week to truly let Najee Harris be the workhorse. Give him that ball. Let him run it 20 times, 25 times. See what you really have out of him as a workhorse premier feature back. Because you've either got to sign him at the end of the season or let him walk. Those are your only two options. They refused the fifth-year option already. And so they should be utilizing these opportunities to get that big chunk of data on him to find out whether he's going to be worth it going forward or not. Yet, Arthur Smith only handed the ball off to Najee Harris 14 times for 42 yards. And the run game was never able to establish itself because of that. I mean, Justin Fields was not special. 15 of 27, only 131 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, sure, but no interceptions. He fumbled the ball again. He recovered it, but again, fumbling the ball. 6 rushes, 27 yards. He didn't do enough this week. And a lot of that does fall onto Arthur Smith's shoulders, but Justin Fields isn't blameless. He needs to do more if he wants to be a franchise quarterback in this league. That door was closing rapidly on should we play Russell Wilson or not, and he just let it open back up again, and now people are talking, should they put Russell Wilson in? And so he's kind of screwed himself in that way. The receivers, there was nothing special to talk about in the receiving game. Nobody had more than 3 receptions, and nobody was over 40 yards. It was a sloppy game for this passing offense and for the run offense as well, because they just didn't let anything build any stability. Arthur Smith was so all over the place with his calls that no consistency, no groove could be found. It was awful to watch. The defense, on the other hand, gave this team every chance to win this game. This is what this defense has done for the last couple of seasons. I was hopeful they weren't going to have to be the ones that did it this season, but it's looking like right now they're going to have to win games for this team to get them to the playoffs again. And they came away with 2 takeaways in the red zone this week, which, I mean, that's usually 14 points for Dallas right there. So the fact that they were able to shut that down is brilliant. We got a strip sack on Dak Prescott that was recovered by Nick Herbig, and then another interception in the red zone, right in the end zone actually, by Dante Jackson, shutting down 2 key drives for Dallas, keeping this Pittsburgh team in it and giving them, again, every opportunity to win it that the offense just wasn't capitalizing on. Yes, they did score 1 touchdown off of one of those turnovers, but that's not the point. They need to find a way to stay on the field, use more of that clock, and be more consistent in their play. TJ Watt doing his usual stuff on defense. He was a game breaker. He broke that 100 sack mark this week, which was a huge milestone for him. Everybody's happy to see that. It was wonderful to see. He finished the game with 2 sacks. Unfortunately, more injury issues. Nick Herbig would leave the game in the second half with a hamstring injury. I do believe he came back, but he just wasn't as explosive after that. The defense also losing DeMarvin Leal this week throughout the game. So this defense is starting to look thin on that D-line, in that front 7 again, as often ends up happening because these guys are asked to do so much for so long in the game. The offense can't stay out there and give them that time to rest, breathe, recuperate, and they just end up getting hurt because of it. There were some bright spots on this defense for sure. I know we saw Peyton Wilson with a couple of big tackles, 1 tackle for loss that was impressive to see. I'd like to see more of that going forward, but ultimately this defense needs to get healthy and the offense needs to give them time to rest. So as we got late in the game, it was close. Pittsburgh was ahead. The Cowboys are driving, trying to win this game, and the defense again did everything they could to keep them out of the end. Unfortunately, there was a big, dump off to a fullback flat that he rumbled all the way down inside the 5-yard line. That made it very interesting to close out this game. The Dak Prescott fumbled it trying to run the ball in himself. Luckily for Dallas, that went out of bounds and didn't hit the pylon. And then a couple plays later, Landon Roberts just made an insane play as he jumped over the line, timing it perfectly on a dive play from Rico Dowdle that ended up knocking the ball loose, creating a fumble. And if you haven't seen this play, you really should go back and watch it, because Roberts commits to his move before Dowdle decided to even dive over the line. Landon Roberts is already in the air when Dowdle jumps, and his helmet was perfectly aimed and hit that ball right on point and knocked it out. The unfortunate thing was the bounce didn't go towards the Pittsburgh Steelers. It sort of hovered there in the middle, and all credit to Dak Prescott. He showed why Dallas paid him. He, in a key moment, sacrificed himself and went after that fumble and managed to recover it, taking a big shot in the process. A lot of quarterbacks in this league would not have made that play because they know they're going to get hit, and it's not a protected moment where they're going to get an automatic flag. And so that was a big play for Dak Prescott, getting that ball back for Dallas there. Unfortunate for Pittsburgh that the bounce didn't go their way, able to recover it there as the defense was all game long. That would have ended it right there. And then 2 plays later, Dak Prescott able to hit Tolbert on a crossing route for a touchdown with 20 seconds left in the game. Pittsburgh has no timeouts left. At that point, that is game over. I know Pittsburgh tried to do a fancy little let's lateral the play rugby for a minute and see if we can do something. That almost never works, and I wasn't there for it. I didn't think anything was going to come of it. So, unfortunately, Pittsburgh does drop this game to Dallas. Sad to see, after a 3-0 start to drop to 3-2 now. The wheels are starting to come off. Overall, this offense is in trouble. It may look different than Matt Canada's offense of the last few seasons, but it's really just a different kind of bad. And it is not inspiring to see as a Steelers fan. The inability to score early in games is going to cause this team to have to fight and claw through every game. Even games that should be easy wins, like the Colts last week, like the Raiders next week. These are games that should be easy for the Steelers to win with the team that we have. But they're going to have to fight their way through it because this offense isn't able to get going early on. At this point, we're feeling those 2 critical injuries on the offensive line, season-ending injuries to both Troy Fautanu and then James Daniels last week. This offensive line is thin now. They're thin and they're scrambling. They're trying to figure out how they can cobble an offensive line together like we've had to deal with for the last several seasons, unfortunately. It's going to be the same thing now going forward, and we're at this same point at a very key position that needs to be addressed. Unfortunately, they keep addressing it in the draft, and then these injuries happen, and here we are. But really, Arthur Smith's unwillingness to commit to the running game is creating this one-dimensional offense that opposing defensive coordinators are easily figuring out how to shut him down. They know they can double team George Pickens, and Justin Fields isn't going to have any other options out there, and he's going to scramble around and throw the ball away. The solution is commit to that run game early in the game, even if you're down by 3 or 6, because this defense often is holding the opposing teams to field goals. And so you have time to wear that other defense down by running the ball, letting guys like Najee Harris impose their will, wear out the defense, and then start throwing those passing plays in there more. But he has to commit to something like that, and he just doesn't seem interested in doing that. And it's unfortunate. We talked about Pittsburgh being a possible landing spot for Devontae Adams earlier this week. However, at this point, I'm not convinced that it's actually going to solve any of the problems that we have. In fact, it's likely just going to create a whole new set of issues where guys are being underutilized and start to become frustrated because not everybody's getting their share of the ball that they feel they should be getting. And it's going to create more problems when you've got an indecisive offensive coordinator that is not willing to set aside his ego and go, this is what we have for talent. This is what's going to work. Let's just run this instead of trying to be fancy with it and force his style of offense on a team that obviously isn't going to work. And at this point, 5 weeks into the season, the unfortunately reality is beginning to set in. This team and the play calling along with it is not going to be enough to break this streak of no playoff wins that this team has been going through for the last 7-8 years. It's been a long time. Sure, we make the playoffs. And this year it'll be the same thing. Sure, the team will probably find a way to win enough games to squeak into a playoff spot, because the defense is just that good. That is how good this defense is. But it's just going to be another first round exit and another 22nd overall pick in the draft next year and another question of what should they do, where's the problem, what do they fix. It's going to just rinse and repeat the same old story next year that we've been going through year in and year out for the last 3 or 4. And Mike Tomlin needs to get the reins on this thing. He needs to correct Arthur Smith and find what this team's identity is going to be. Because we're going into week 6, and teams are figuring it out now. You've got the Ravens, who started 0-2. They're now up to that same record of 3-2. And they are rolling. They are likely going to just take over this division now. So now Pittsburgh, that was in the driver's seat to start the year, they're now going to be looking at this going, okay, now we have to fight for a wild card spot, because I don't think you're going to keep pace with Baltimore from here on through the rest of the season. You had that 2-game cushion, and you squandered it before week 6 even came along. And so all we can do is go on to week 6 now. Match up with the Las Vegas Raiders next week. This team needs to try to stop this 2-game slide that we're on after starting 3-0. I'm not super confident. Luckily, it is a Raiders team that also is struggling right now, so we might be able to get the win here. But as I've said, with the way Arthur Smith is calling these games, it does not bode well for this team's success going forward on offense. They should, with the talent that's there, be able to be scoring 20, 25 points a game at least. And they're struggling to get to the 20-point mark, largely because they struggle even to get to 10 points by halftime. They cannot score in the first half, and that is an issue they need to address. They need to find a way to come out and start these games fast. Give the defense an opportunity to play the style of football they want to play, and stay on the field. If it's late in the game and you have a lead, run the ball, chew the clock, manage the game properly. Give the defense the opportunity to rest so that they are ready to go out there and shut down the opposing team to win these games. You're not giving the defense the opportunity to do that right now, Arthur Smith, and that has to change, because Steeler fans are tired of seeing this kind of football for the last 4 years, and they're not going to put up with this for very long. If this continues on, we're going to start seeing the boos in the stands by week 10. And so I hope they're able to remedy this unfortunate loss, as I said, this week to the Dallas Cowboys. We got the Raiders next week. Let's see what we can do. Thanks for hanging out with me, letting me vent a little bit, rant about the Steelers. If you watched that game, I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please hit that like and subscribe button. It'll let you know when we're uploading new content, which we are doing much more of now. Brendan will be releasing a video this week as well on his Bears. We'll have our Thursday game predictions, along with many other things for you guys to enjoy. So please hit that like, subscribe. Other than that, I hope you all have a good week. Enjoy the break as we lead up to week 6, and peace out.